Welcome to today's deep dive. If you've ever walked into a sports bar or a really high-end restaurant and noticed how the audio just feels perfectly tuned, like it's never too loud, never too quiet, you are actually experiencing some seriously smart, completely invisible engineering.
Yeah, absolutely. We really take that perfect background vibe totally for granted. But today, we're looking at the invisible engine behind that audio experience. Specifically, we're tearing into a spec sheet for a commercial multi-channel amplifier from HDTVSupply. It's the QSC MP-A40V.
Right, right. And our goal here is to cut through the heavy audiovisual jargon, right?
Mm.
To uncover how modern commercial sound systems actually work and why this tech matters to you if you appreciate a well-tuned room.
Because looking at this spec sheet, this little box comes with a price tag over $2,100.
Yeah, $2,145 to be exact. It's a real investment.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand what is driving that $2,000 investment, we really need to start with the engine of the device and how it handles, just raw power. Definitely. It really comes down to something called FlexAmp technology. So this is a 4-channel amplifier, but instead of pushing a rigid static amount of power to each channel, it treats each pair of channels as a pool.
A pool. Like they just share the power.
Yeah, exactly. Together, a pair can deliver up to 400 watts of total power in almost any ratio.
Oh, I get it. Think of it like a really attentive waiter with a shared pitcher of water. Instead of like rigidly pouring exactly 8 ounces into every single glass at the table, regardless of who is actually thirsty, the amp just reads the room.
That's a great way to put it. It dynamically adjusts on the fly.
Right, so the loud, heavy subwoofer in the main dining area gets a massive pour of power. And then those quiet background speakers in the restroom, they just get a little splash.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is how this flexibility actively prevents wasted capacity. I mean, before this kind of dynamic power sharing, a business would have to buy multiple mismatched amplifiers.
Oh, because they'd need a massive, expensive amp just for the big dining room speakers, right?
Right, and then a completely separate, smaller amp for the hallways and restrooms. But FlexAmp allows a business to run highly varied audio zones from just one single unit.
Okay, wait a second. If we have an amp that can pump hundreds of watts into a giant subwoofer on demand, traditionally an engine that powerful requires massive heat sinks and cooling fans.
Oh, for sure. The old ones were basically just loud space heaters.
Right, but the spec sheet says this is a 1RU design, which basically means it's about the size and thickness of a pizza box. How does a pizza box pushing that much power not literally melt itself or need incredibly loud fans?
Well, that is the exact problem with older amplifier technology. They kept a continuous flow of electricity running all the time, and any power that wasn't immediately turned into sound got burned off as thermal waste, so heat. But this QSC unit uses Class D output circuitry.
I've definitely heard of Class D, but how does it actually avoid generating all that heat in such a tight space?
So, unlike those older amps, Class D amps act kind of like incredibly fast strobe lights. They literally switch the power supply on and off thousands of times a second.
Wait, really? Thousands of times a second?
Yeah, it's wild. And by pulsing the electricity that rapidly, the amp only draws the exact amount of power it needs at any given millisecond. Almost all the electrical energy is converted directly into audio output, with virtually zero bleeding off as thermal waste.
Wow, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And it looks like it goes even further with managing its own energy, right? The spec sheet mentions a 28-minute auto standby function.
Yes, it does. That's a huge feature for efficiency.
So if the big game ends, the TVs turn off and the audio cuts out, the amp just goes to sleep to save power. But the second a signal returns, say, a bartender turns on a playlist, it seamlessly auto-ramps the audio back up so nobody misses a beat.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this Class D circuitry, the compact design, and that smart standby feature are entirely about lowering the total cost of ownership for a business.
Because you're saving on the electric bill day after day.
Right. You are slashing the electric bill, you are saving physical space in a cramped AV closet, and you aren't constantly replacing burnt-out cooling fans. Plus, they back it up with a 6-year warranty when you register it.
So what does this all mean? I think it really highlights just how far professional audio has evolved.
Yeah.
We've completely transitioned from giant, hot, power-hungry towers to these smart, space-saving units that manage their own power ratios and sleep schedules autonomously.
It truly is the invisible infrastructure that makes our modern public spaces so comfortable to be in. We just don't see it doing the hard work.
Totally. So the next time you're sitting in a sports bar or restaurant with perfectly balanced audio, look around and ask yourself, what highly efficient and visible tech is hiding in a closet nearby, quietly shifting power around to curate the exact vibe of the room.